Our first pre-season game in Florida finished Wolves 3, West Ham 1. It wasn't the best, I'm going to be honest, from watching back at that game. I wasn't very impressed, actually, with a few things. But I'm going to be quite honest as well. It's a pre-season friendly. I'm not really that fussed. Do you know what I mean? I don't take these things too seriously. If we win well, I don't really take it seriously either. So I think you've got to take it a bit of both. I mean, for me, it's more about seeing the style of football, players' fitness levels, things like that. And I want to talk about a few things in this. Three main things. First of all, I want to talk about Lopetegui and his comments, because I think it was quite interesting to see how he reacted to the game, obviously, and what it meant to him. Clearly, a really frustrated man, actually, I think, during that game. He wasn't impressed with what he was seeing, I think. I mean, look, he's a new head coach coming to the side. So I think to expect to see a system that's just going to be working like that and everyone clicking, and bearing in mind as well, it's with it being a friendly, there was just wholesale changes throughout the game. So I'm not really looking too hard into that, but he obviously was expecting more. We'll talk about that in a second, but also I want to talk about one sort of big positive from the game, I think, in terms of a player perspective, and also a really big negative as well surrounding Kurt Zouma. But yeah, look, it was a 3-1 defeat. No, there wasn't really much. I've got to be honest, looking back at it, there wasn't really much to get too excited about. Overall, it was a bit of a nothing game. I mean, first of all, the game was delayed by 2 hours. For people that stayed up wanting to watch that live, really felt for them, because you think, oh, dearie me, 2-hour delay, not ideal, because basically due to storms in Florida. It's storm season out there, so it's obviously a bit of a risk. Let's be honest, that didn't help matters, but having said that, you could say the same for Wolves, can't you? So I don't think it's an excuse. But it just doesn't help things, does it? When players are gearing up for a game and you've got told to sit around for a couple of hours to wait, it's not ideal. So that was a bit of a blow. And then we went into the game. I thought the first half we looked pretty okay at times. I thought we had a few spells. We played some nice football, knocked the ball around okay. Wolves looked a bit sharper than us, I think, overall throughout the game. Better by I just want to make it very clear, Wolves deserved this win. It was they were very much the better side, especially in the second half. But the first half, I thought we had some decent spells, but we looked okay. We went 1-0 down in the 18th minute, I think it was. Very decent goal there side. But I think then when we came back into the game, it was kind of one of those moments you felt that we needed one of the bigger players to step up and do something to sort of give us a bit of bit of life into the game, and Kudus did that. Hamid Kudus, I mean, looking sharp as ever. Really, that's all. I mean, I'll talk about a positive from one player. I mean, I wasn't actually including Kudus in that, but you can see. We know from last season how great he is, don't we? But wow, he was impressive again. A great finish. I mean, not the best goalkeeping from their side. I mean, he basically comes in on the right hand side and fires it across into the near post, on the low in the near post, and it just goes up. Basically, the keeper just under his hand, and he doesn't read it right. I think he's expecting Kudus to fire across goal, and he hits it well at pace. But I think really the keeper probably should have done a bit better. But look, it's a great finish, and we're happy with that. And it was nice to see him get on the score sheet again. It's I've just got, like many fans, I've got real high hopes for Kudus this season. I just look at him and think this is a player now that looks ready. He's been here a year, and I just really hope we're going to see this player now really, that consistency. You just get a feeling if he can be as good as he can be all the time at that sort of level, we've got a monster of a player in our hands. Because it was a reminder once again of the talent we've got in Kudus. But back to the game, that was it. It sort of pulled us back 1-0, which was decent. And then second half, I've got to be honest, there was a lot of changes being made by Lopetegui in that game, which is, look, it's understandable. It's pre-season. I really don't want this to be a moaning video. I really don't want us to come across like I'm disappointed and annoyed, and I'm really not. I'm actually, when you look at what's gone on at Manchester United, they've just played Arsenal, lost 2-1, I believe. They've got a couple of big injuries straight away, to key players. Their new signing as well. Looks like he hobbled off the pitch, looks in a bad way. So I'm watching things like that thinking, like, that's what I want us to avoid. I just want to see the fitness levels growing, the players getting used to each other in terms of the new system, etc. The manager obviously finding his feet with the players. That's what you want to see. I mean, obviously, you want to. Of course, you'd much rather see West Ham win. I mean, who doesn't? You should see him. You want to see him do well, regardless of what the match is. But at the same time, I really wouldn't get bogged down and be disappointed. And because I know you do sometimes get people that react and they say, "Oh, we're in for a nightmare season" and all that. I mean, bear in mind, I think it was Avram Grant. We won every pre-season game, every single match. Let's say it was 7 games of a pre-season. We won every single one. And then we went on to get relegated, and it was a horrendous season. So it really doesn't have much bearing on the season ahead. I really don't believe it does. I think it's irrelevant. As I say, the main thing for us is fitness levels, get those fitness levels back up. And also bearing in mind as well, we've got to note that we've got players to come in yet, we've got players to return. So yeah, I'm certainly not really that fussed. But I will say the second half was a pretty poor showing from West Ham. Really was. We really didn't get in the game at all. Wolves they just looked fresher. They looked up for it, a bit more organised. I think you could probably understand that. You know, if you think about it, Wolves have obviously got a pretty much solid side there. They've got the manager from last season. They just look a little bit more cohesive. Things looked like it was working quite nicely for them, whereas we looked a little bit lost. I mean, it was hard to see what the game plan was at times. The players looked a little bit confused with what's happening. And I, as I say, being at this stage under the new regime, it's understandable. I wouldn't expect to see, you know, a machine that's all firing, you know, after knowing each other for a few weeks in terms of Lopetegui and the players. I mean, so I'm really not fussed. As I say, the main positive for me was the fact that we've come out of it unscathed in terms of injury. Well, I say that, but I'll kind of come to Kurt Zouma in a minute. I was, yeah, we'll talk about him in a sec. I'll tell you one big positive from me. As I say, Kudus played well. He looked sharp as always. But I'll tell you what, there was a few half-decent performances out there. But I thought Freddie Potts actually deserves a lot of credit. He is starting to look a real player, actually. I watched him and thought he looked like the sort of senior player out on that pitch. You know, you don't want to say the word Declan Rice because Declan Rice is obviously the player that he is and the stature he's at and all that. But you can look at Potts and you can see similarities in terms of just this maturity, you know, and confidence and ability on the ball. Really impressed with him, actually. And if I'm Lopetegui, I'm looking at that thinking this could be a player for me this season. This is a player that could actually go into this side. He looks that good. I was very impressed, and that is something that I think that is very exciting for West Ham. And we're just experiencing now with Lewis Orford this whole contract situation where we again, like we did with Ben Johnson, like we did with Declan Rice, like we've done with so many players over the years, and you know, like we've done with Harris and Ashby and all that kind of stuff. I don't want us to go down the same route with Potts. I just want to get these players secured, you know what I mean? And I watched that last night. I've got to say, I think Potts was probably one of our best players. And considering, you know, he's came out from Wickham on loan last season and did tremendously well there. I just think we've got a player there, really do. And that performance from him just cemented that for me. I think it's a huge positive for West Ham. But I do want to talk about the big negative for me. And this has been something that's been running a little bit on this channel and amongst West Ham fans for quite some time. Much of last season, it's been throughout pre-season, and last night even more so. Kurt Zouma is absolutely finished, as far as I'm concerned. He looks shot to pieces. He was horrendous in the 42nd. He came on in the second half. He played a full 45 minutes, and he was absolutely awful. Looked lost, looked sluggish. He was walking around the pitch. He was basically walking back at times, but barely running when Wolves are attacking. He was limping. It's just something that West Ham have to get addressed. If I'm Lopetegui this morning, I'm saying to Steidton, this needs sorting, regardless of us selling a Gerd or Zouma. I mean, no one's buying Zouma, by the way. Like, no one's buying Zouma. There's no way that man's passing the fitness test. He looked horrendously unfit. We saw it against Dagenham and Redbridge. He played, again, I think he played 45 minutes against Dagenham and Redbridge. What's that, League Two? And hobbling around the pitch after the game. He had ice packs on both his knees after that. 45 minutes. I mean, he's just had a break over the summer as well. And that's what we're getting. And then you watch him against Wolves and he looks like a broken man. It just needs sorting out. Like, I do not want to see this. We had it under Moyes, didn't we? Where it was kind of, it felt like it was being ignored, the situation effectively. So it was saying, well, look, Zuma's a great player for us. He's our captain. He's been really good for us over the years, but let's just keep playing. We've got a new guy now. If I'm Lopetegui, I'm watching this and going, look, this needs sorting out. Zuma's not fit, and it's, for me, it's not a case of he just needs to get over this injury. This just looks like he's a broken player now. I'm very concerning. I was really worried about his performance. I've been worried about him for a while, as you'll know from these videos. I've said it. Let's be honest, I'm not the only person saying it, am I? It's a pretty much a loud voice now amongst all fans that they're frustrated with the whole situation with Zouma because. And it's sad to see, actually, because he is a great player. He has been decent for us at times. It really has been. I'm not saying he's been a bad signing. He certainly hasn't. But it's just it's evident, isn't it? You're looking at it thinking this guy needs to be replaced. I mean, he came on for Mavropanos, and a good look actually. All right, you know, we've seen a bit of a decent partnership forming there anyway. Kilman as well, I think, is looking good, looking okay actually. I'm pleased with how he's sort of settling in. But Zouma is not going to be an option for me. I don't see the player there. You know what I mean? I don't see this player that's going to be a reliable, someone we can rely upon this season at all. And I really hope that is something they now realise this needs addressing fast. We cannot be going on the basis that we're going to have to wait and see what happens if we can sell one. And I know that that's the message we're getting loud and clear from the club. So I doubt that's going to change. But if I'm not Lopetegui this morning, I'm on the side going, this ain't happening, mate. We can't have him playing. He'd be run ragged. He ain't going to be able to play Premier League football next season. So no, that was one big negative. But that's, look, as I say, I don't want this to be a negative video. I really don't. Lopetegui, yeah, I want to quickly talk about Lopetegui. I've really interesting, actually, how he was reacting to this game. I mean, you consider it's a pre-season friendly. Obviously, he wants to make an impression, doesn't he? But he was really not happy. Clearly unhappy on the touchline and clearly really unhappy after the game. His comments, he was sort of like, you know, no excuses. I don't care that it's academy players and this is pre-season. No excuses in this game. He's like, you know, he was really frustrated. And I think that's actually a good sign. I like the fact we've got a manager that's not brushing it off like I am. But he was clearly expecting more. Now, we've got a week until we play a game. We play next Sunday, play Crystal Palace again in Florida. So it'd be nice to see a decent improvement. I'm expecting to see a bit more about us because we looked aside at where we are at. A new boss coming for pre-season. We look like a team that's getting used to a new system and getting our fitness levels up. That's all it looked like to me. I didn't see anything that made me go, oh my God, we look horrendous. And even if we did play badly, it wouldn't worry me again. It wouldn't bother me too much. But, you know, you of course, now with the Premier League season now 3 weeks away, you want to see the difference now between this result and then how we perform against Crystal Palace in a week's time. But yeah, so a little bit, you know, always frustrating when you lose a game. Of course, you want to see West Ham win, but, you know, as I say, not at the end of the world. I'm not here to whinge and whine about it. But yeah, Kurt Zouma for me, he's done.